Get a big smile on your face watching that, VT, because it's getting very exciting, isn't it?
It is, Kels, and the only ones that's really missing out, I can't say Arsenal with their current form, but Chelsea. But other than that, the top of the league is starting to take that shape with the protagonist, the normal protagonist in there. But it is tight and it is close. And, you know, the emergence of City, United, all of a sudden, you know, 2 months ago, you wouldn't have seen them up there. You can't count Tottenham out of it, but it's really, I'm quite pleased that it's like it is now. It's very tight, and it's up to now a team to actually say, batten down their hatches and say, right, let's get going now. This is it. After Christmas, let's string some good performances together and see if we could get some daylight with us and the other teams.
Well, Liverpool are, of course, the team to beat, the defending champions. Chris, what have you made of them recently? Because it hasn't been the type of performances and the run of form that we've been used to for Jurgen Klopp's side.
Yeah, it's been a difficult period for them, you know, with the injury. You know, I think with the spine missing, you know, Van Dijk and Matip, Joe Gomez been absent. You know, Fabinho had to drop into the defense, so now he's missing in midfield. So it's been difficult. You know, Diego Jota was a big part of this early success, and now he's also sidelined. So it's difficult, but they're still top of the league. So big credit to them, and it's a little bit scary because you have to think, oh, they're gonna come back and gonna get running, you know, and this could be difficult. You don't want them to pull off like last season. You want it to keep exciting for us fans.
Is that something we have to remember, Sam? The fact that we all talk about these problems, the fact that Liverpool aren't the machine that we've maybe become accustomed to, but they are still top of the league.
Yeah, of course, but it's like teams like Liverpool, Man United previously, Man City throughout 2020, kind of held up by their own high standards. And as soon as they dip below that a bit, you start thinking, what's going on here? This must be a disaster. What's going wrong? But it's just all of those injuries, as Chris said, but also only 3 teams in the Premier League era have retained the title successfully, and only 1 in the last 10 years. So it's almost like the intangibles. There's just nothing you can do after you've won the title, generally, to keep that level up. So it's already hard. The deck's already stacked against you. Everyone wants to beat you anyway. Liverpool, even the season when they didn't win the title the year before, when they got 97-ish points finishing behind City, they were still going all out. So they're going to be tired. It's a crazy league this season. And then you throw those injuries in as well. They're doing amazingly to be what they are. And what they are is actually top of the league. Like, they won't be far from the top at the end of the season.
The thing, of course, because of the quality they've got, but when you look at the players and the form, yes, you're hoping that Salah and Mane and Firmino continue to nick those goals, what you need. You know, like Mane, I thought that Walker-Peters played fantastically against him, kind of like really subdued him. But the fact is that when you've got your forwards, and the great forwards who are not firing, and you haven't got Jota, like you mentioned there, Chris, to come in and help, Minamino's, it's not quite happened for him to come in and nick that goal. And then you've got the defence. I wouldn't say it's leaky, but if I'm playing against that particular Liverpool defence, if I'm Ward-Prowse and Danny Ings, we saw them construct a beautiful goal, you are feeling like you've got more of a chance. And when you look at Liverpool, who are still trying to play out from the back and play how they want to, into a Thiago, they've still got to find his form in respect of his fitness and get up to speed so as he can then get those front players going. It's not quite clicked in that way. And I think that the form of those players, if their form gets better, then get a bit more confidence and then probably start seeing a little bit more from Liverpool. But at the moment, Kels, this is the time to try and put Liverpool under pressure.
Do you think that it's maybe a result of the fact that we have seen them go full throttle for so long now, that maybe this tiredness, this slight lapse was inevitable, perhaps? Does that always happen to top teams?
I can't say it's inevitable. You know, if you want to say you're top teams, you have to be able to repeat. You know, I mean, 2 times, every time be contending. For them, I think the issue is because the lack of confidence maybe in defense is there. So it can be difficult. Example, when you look at Trent, Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, to go forward, if you think in the back of your mind that you have to protect your centre-backs, and that can be also an issue. Having Fabinho in front of the defence maybe reassure also the team. So I think it's a balance with, the team is a little bit off balance, and I think that's a problem at the moment. So yeah, it's a great time, like Jan said, to put that team under pressure right now.
Let's just take a look. Oh, sorry, Sam,
I was going to say, it sounds like a little thing, doesn't it, off balance? But these are well-oiled machines.
Yeah.
We saw with Pep's Man City and Klopp's Liverpool, the reason they get nearly 100 points is because they've got fantastic players, but it's not just, Salah's getting them over the line with the odd goal. Everything's constructed perfectly to work. Everything, from the way it comes out from the goalkeeper to the centre-backs, the balance of the midfield, the way they get the ball in the spaces at exactly the right time. They're already on the half turn. They're looking at, they can break through into the spaces. Everything works from back to front. And then you take out all of the centre-backs at Liverpool, all of them, and you've dropped the two best midfielders that Liverpool have got in Henderson and Fabinho into the back line. You've then got problems in the midfield as well.
Is that a bit similar to what we saw at City maybe last season with
Exactly, they took Fernandinho
Yeah.
out and then they put him back and he did all right, but it wasn't the same as, with Laporte being out. And then they had the big problem in midfield with Rodri just coming in, new to the Premier League. In front of him, more counter-attacks. Rodri was coming in thinking, I don't have to do that many counter-attacks. And every week there was people just running past him. He wasn't used to it. And it's going to be the same thing with Liverpool. Like, a couple of the cogs are out of place, and then you get the knock-on, and then you get the front three who are so good, just lacking a bit of confidence because maybe they're not getting the ball at the right time in the right spaces. Like Trent Alexander-Arnold's a bit off form, so the ball's not coming in quite as predictably as before. Just all of a sudden, you stood in front of defenders thinking, where do we go now? Rather than you're already in behind them in previous seasons, and then the confidence goes.
The thing with it is as well is that people got to understand is you're not going to let Liverpool just continue to get on and do what they do, what makes them flow. Just like we're going to City. Like, if you let City do that, you'll get absolutely obliterated. So you have to try and stop them. We see the people talking about Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, Trent is continuing to do what he does, but now people are catering for him. We've got to stop that supply so as that doesn't go in there, so as we can disrupt what they do. So then when it's not going to the forwards, like you say there, Sam, then they're starting to think, well, when's it coming? And then they get a little bit maybe more anxious. And then the team can see that, there is a little bit of a weakness. If we attack them here, we might. And so then what happens is that it comes down to you actually having to still play very well because teams are trying even harder to try and stop you and nullify you. And then when that's not happening, and then you're not getting it from one of your forwards who all of a sudden can do that, then you're starting to think, that's when the confidence starts to seep away.
When we look at the Liverpool team and where the injuries are, as an ex-defender, do you think that they would have had the same problems had it been Salah, Mane or Firmino injured? What do you think the impact is on the fact that it's been the goalkeeper, it's been their arguably best centre-half?
It's going to still be a problem because at the moment the problem is they concede goal and they look like a team that's going to concede goal. But if you have the injury in the up front, then you have the problem, where's the goal going to come from to win the game? So I think it's a right balance, like we say. And also, like Roy was saying, and Sam as well, the amount of repetition that you do with the same group, the same players constantly make it a well-oiled machine. The fact that you don't have someone like Van Dijk, Matip or Joe Gomez also take another weapon away, what is the aerial threat. If you nullify and trade Alexander-Arnold or Robertson and the front three have a bad game, set pieces is also a solution to them. But right now they don't have all their weapons available, and that's a difficulty.
It comes down to the spine of the team being affected as well, doesn't it? In the same way with Fernandinho at Manchester City, the fact that Fabinho has now been pulled out of position at Liverpool as well, they've lost that spine a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's it. This is exactly what Chris was saying earlier on about the spine. And you question then about the forwards. Like, so if, for argument's sake, if Salah had got injured all season, it would have been a loss. But then you put Jota in. And if everything else is working, it's all right. So the season before, when City they lost De Bruyne, you think, how could they play without De Bruyne? But everything else was fine. They put Bernardo Silva in there, fantastic player. You'd never known there was an issue. But last season, Laporte was injured, so you take Fernandinho, you put him back there. Then you've got a problem in midfield. Sane was injured, so you've got a problem where they haven't got the width on the left because they had problems with the left backs. And all of a sudden, it's only a couple of players, but everything starts changing around. But like, if it had just been just Salah on his own, huge loss, but they could probably have done without him. But take Van Dijk out, and then all the other centre backs, you've got problems in midfield. And then the whole thing starts to fall apart a bit then. But like I say, falling apart, they're still top of the league.
Yeah, that's kind of why I asked you that so early in the conversation, so we don't get too carried away. But let's take a look.